So here's ANSI B title block. Let me take a quick look here at page setup. I want to create a new page setup here, similar to the other one. So it's a PDF tabloid. Using DWG to PDF, 17 by 11. We're going to use the extents, center of the plot scales 1:1. Using our color table, check to display plot styles. Do a quick preview, make sure we capture the whole sheet. Click OK. Also, set it current. Close and save the file. Now, we need to take a look at the layers so we can show the viewport layer. Alright, it's this box right here, you can see that. And what I'll do first is let's position it for the front or top view, either way. I'm going to put this in this area for the top view. If I double click into the viewport and do the zoom extents, here's where I can see the solid model. What I'll want to do here is set the viewport scale 1:1, or actually 2:1 is our intended output. 2:1, there it is. Okay, we're still in wireframe. Now I'm going to use sole view command here. We're going to use the ortho option, enter. We're going to project from this side of the viewport. Click there. Now we're going to determine the center of the view. We should see a preview of the model. If you don't see anything yet, don't worry about it, because we might need to adjust our zoom or our display. Just keep going with the command. So I'll just estimate right about here, hit enter, and then with left click we're going to do our viewport, and then finally enter the view name. This is the front view. Alright, now we can hit enter one more time to exit the command. Come back to the front viewport here, zoom extents. Right, there we go, there's the view, and then set the scale properly to 2:1. Now, if the drawing views are not aligned, what we could do is in the paper we can actually move the viewport itself using the model edges here to align. Looks pretty well there. So I could double check that if I just do a construction line as well. Actually, we're losing material there, so let's see. Yeah, we're still going to line it up there. You can see how it's still aligned with the top view. So now, this is the only solid view. This is our temporary viewport. I'm going to move this over, and I'll use this for the isometric view now. So if I double click into this viewport, I'll change my view here to the southeast isometric. And then let's proceed with creating the top solid view as well. So again, let's use sole view. We're going to use the ortho option. We're going to project this side of this viewport into this area. There's our top view. Hit enter, and then clip your viewport. Also name it. Here's the top view. Okay, so get out of that command. We've got the solid views, we've got the profile view. Now we're ready to render. So I'm going to continue by using the solid drawing here, and selecting these two solid viewports to render for our views to the orthographic line work. What you can see here is if the lines are too small, you're not going to be able to see the line type dashes, right? So what we can do here is just type LT, and you have a couple options. Since we're in the paper space, right, what we could do here is use paper space units for scaling. Okay, and if that doesn't help, keep in mind you might want to do a regen, right, to regenerate all the views. If that doesn't help to show you the dashes, what you can do is go back and do LT again, so you can adjust the global scale factor. Here, if we do something like 0.5, now you can see the hidden lines, right? And that's just an adjustment so you can visualize these line types when they're really small there. Okay, for our isometric view, we're going to work with the solid here. We're going to use solid profile. Select the solid, hit enter, and just accept to create the hidden profile lines and also the profile lines onto a separate plane. Just hit yes for all of these options. Okay, now in order to see that line work, what we need to do here is simply freeze for this viewport a 3D object. Okay, now what I would do too here is the isometric view does not have to be to scale, but if I don't want these views to change, I'll lock them. Okay, especially if we're going to start doing our dimensioning. All right, so if you're going to be doing dimensioning, for example, in this view here, we need to show some centerline references. Okay, now if we draw on this layer, the information is going to appear on the other layers. However, if we switch to the paper, for example, and just using that one layer, go ahead and add our reference information. Okay, let's do a line.
You're drawing in paper space now, right?
I am indeed drawing in paper space. Turn on my polar here. Okay, so let's say there's our information, and now when I'm ready to start adding the dimensions, I'm going to return to the model space and use the appropriate layer. Let's say the front dimension layer here. And if I switch over to annotate, make sure I use an annotative dimension style. Now as I proceed with the dimensioning here, you can see that's working fine here. And then when I want to annotate the center circle there, you can see I can't snap to it because I'm in the model. But let's just go ahead and finish our other dimensions here. And so now when I go back to the paper and I want to dimension the center line circle here, you can see that this is not showing the actual or the correct dimension.
Yeah, that's 2 to 1.
So right now you'll notice that this is actually showing a dimension twice as large. The thing is, if you're going to use dimensions in the paper space, that'll be okay. If you're going to have other reference material in the paper space. But here's what you got to do. This viewport is set 2 to 1. Okay. Now, for this paper space layout dimension to show the accurate model dimension here, return to the dimension style, take a look at modify, and look at primary units. What you'll be able to do here is this. The sizing of all the annotations in the model will be automatic based on the annotative scale. But for those dimensions in the paper, what you'll have to do is manually input the scale factor here for that viewport. So since we have 2 to 1 scale, we have a 1/2 scale factor, and we want to apply that only to the layout dimensions. So we'll check this box and type 0.5 here, right? That matches our 2 to 1 scale for the viewport, and I click OK and close, and now you should see, let's go back one more time. That should be checked, apply to layout dimensions only, right? And you can see these dimensions that were placed in the model show the accurate model dimensions, and also now this dimension that I placed in the paper shows the accurate model dimensions. So that's one way that you can minimize the mess with layers and having to include dimensions in the layout as well. Now to finish up here, what we're going to do is go ahead and freeze our viewport layer, our viewport layers, update the title block, and save your drawing. Now we'll go on to the next part.